How's everybody feeling today? We're good. The Leafs won, so the mood should be up, right? I'm Holly Taylor from White Oaks Communication Group. I'm the station manager there. I am also a podcaster and a host, and we're so excited for White Oaks Communication. We are expanding. We have 4 new stations that will be joining us. That was a part of the Bell purchase, so it's exciting to see exciting things happening in radio. Plus, with new technology, digital, AI, I feel like people can feel maybe the future isn't friendly, but I think it's really, really exciting to have these tools at our disposal. So just as a quick little show of hands, who's taking notes today on a digital device? Okay, some of you. Who is using pen and paper? All right. So guys, those will be the ones for your questions. Okay. All right, well, we are so excited to have these incredible brains in the room talking about AI. How does that work for radio? How can we streamline our workflow so that we can spend more time being creative and not dealing with schedules and the boring stuff that we have to do with every single day? So someone who's an expert on combining creativity as well as digital, we have Chris Duncombe here today. You might recognize him. The Washboard Union, and so they have been incredible when it comes to Canadian music, as well as winning tons of awards with the CCMAs and with the Junos. But with his day job, he does work for Chorus Entertainment. He is the director of streaming and podcast. He has been a part of the huge success of the Curious Cast, which is home to Crime Beat, which, surprisingly enough, does really, really well with women who are married. You might want to look into that one. To the left of me, to your right, we have James Cridland, and I'm sure a lot of you will listen to his little bites daily to get some information about what's happening in the digital landscape with Pod News. As well, he is labeled a radio futurologist. That's like a big title, and it has been something that he has definitely earned over the years, working internationally, bringing new technology to radio to help bring us up a level so we can continue to do what we do best, and that is communicate locally and to create connection with our listeners. So let's give it up for James and Chris.
Well, thank you so much. In case you're wondering, by the way, the word radio futurologist, it's just made up. So you're fine. If you print your own business cards, it turns out you can call yourself anything. So that's a good thing. Yes, leave any conversation around ethics to the panel yesterday. Today we're going to talk about what AI can do, and I'm going to start by ingratiating myself with anybody that might do country music for a living, because I'm going to ask this. Udio, for a song for today. This is what I'm going to ask it for, a country music song about Radiodays North America. I've given it a few little things that it might want to end up saying, and it has come out with a beautiful song, which I'm going to play to you now.
In the heart of Radiodays we gather, voices blending, laughter rising high, and the man with the beard tells a story, while the breaths charm us with a right side. Oh, it's more than just for me, it's a love for the airwaves repeating.
All together now. Oh, no, let's not.
My heart's breaking a little. It's fantastic, and it took less than 2 minutes to produce. You probably talked a little bit about this yesterday. Look, anyone who's in this room got into it for being passionate about what we do. AI can be a really scary thing. What we're going to talk about today is not about the wholesale replacement of what we do as a business. It's a really different approach about how you can take advantage of this stuff. But there are fears that range from the rational to the absolutely absurd. There are cybersecurity concerns that you need to consider when it comes to AI. There's a whole lot of things that you need to consider, and the biggest of all is being honest with your audience when you're using it. A lot of what we're going to show you today is not going to be involved with replacing what you're doing on the air, but I hope you find the stuff that we're going to present to you valuable, because I certainly have, and I know James has as well.
Indeed, and what AI can really help with is this. If only I had more time. AI, I think, can help you save time on the things that aren't creative. so that you can spend time on things that are creative. And to any creative person in the room, that's a fantastic thing. I would much rather do creative things than fill out boxes and do, for example, transcripts. As one example. Transcripts are super useful if you're doing an interview, if you have a long form interview that you need to then edit down and use that in a podcast, on the radio, whatever. Transcripts are really useful, and that's a great use of AI. This tool here is Hindenburg, which I edit a podcast on every single week. I'm going to record it at midday today, and you can see that the transcript is down here. And what's nice about the transcript is you can also edit using it. So in this particular bit, I tell my co-host that he's wrong and then go into a long spiel about why he's wrong. I think I should probably edit all of that out. And so it's really simple. Just highlight the bits that I want to edit out, press the delete button, and it's got rid of that entire section and edited it as well in terms of that. Transcripts are really, really useful. If you want free transcripts for anything that you are doing, then our friends at iHeart in the US, when have you ever heard that phrase? Freepodcasttranscription.com is the thing that they run, and that's completely free for us to use. You can also install software on your own machines, and also Audio Hijack, if you use that, as I know that many music creatives do, has transcripts built into it now.
One of the ones that I think you'll find really helpful too, I'm just going to back this up, is the ability to enhance audio. So whether you are backstage interviewing Tate McRae, or you have a remote for stations that still do remotes, or you have traffic reports, the ability to use AI to enhance your audio is pretty incredible, and it's so simple to use. Adobe Podcast, one of the best platforms out there when it comes to audio enhancement. Now, I'm just going to show you an example. So we produce a podcast for History Television called Dead Man's Curse. And I chose to read the intro while walking down my gravel driveway in a windstorm, just to see what the platform could do with it. So when you log in and use Adobe Podcast, you're literally just uploading a file, and you're toggling between the original and the enhanced file. So hopefully you can hear this well. On a cold January evening in 1891, a condemned man was led slowly back to his cell for the very last time the night before his execution. And it'll toggle now to the enhanced. Two men, a priest and a catechist, prayed over him. The doomed man woke up, ate a good meal, savoring every bite, and minutes before 7 a.m., he was baptized in the hopes of eternal salvation. Just before 8 a.m., the hangman arrived at the door of the man's cell. He submitted without complaint and filed into the procession that headed toward the gallows, walked firmly up the steps, and leading to the platform, faced the crowd below. So that's literally just talking into my iPhone walking down the driveway. That hasn't been enhanced beyond that. I didn't touch it, but that's what Adobe Podcast was able to do in 60 seconds. Pretty incredible.
And if you pay for Adobe, then you get that included in there. If you don't pay for Adobe, then great, you can still use this. You've got a free half hour every single day that you can use. I've used it in the past, and it's really saved some of the audio that I wanted to end up using as well. Quite a lot of people who work in audio are, we love working in audio, but we're not very good at writing. We're very good at the written word. And so one of the things that AI can really do to help you is to take a piece of audio and put all of the metadata that surrounds that for podcasting, for the website, for things like that. So for example, I uploaded that podcast that I was working on to this particular tool. It's a tool from my podcast host, Buzzsprout, who are also the sponsor of this show. It's given me a transcript, of course, and so from that transcript, it has come up with titles for that particular show, ideas for titles if I want to use some of those. It's come up with a description so that it goes into the podcast feed so that it's much easier to search for. It's come up with things like social posts so that I can post it on Facebook or on LinkedIn or on the place where the Nazis live. It's come up with... Too soon? It's come up with chapter markers so that it will automatically put chapter markers into the audio for me. It'll even come up with a blog post, so I can put that on the website as well. Super useful for anybody that loves working in audio, but actually the writing of the additional stuff is just a chore. It really helps with people finding your material as well. In fact, the Australian ABC has done a lot of work on this for their podcasts and for their work, and they've done a whole paper on this. If you want to have something thrillingly exciting to end up reading, you'll find this if you search the Pod News website for this particular story.
If you've heard of Riverside before, has anyone used Riverside at all for your podcasts or for your radio shows? Riverside's a fantastic platform. I can't say enough about this company. I'm a huge fan of what they do. But for a lot of us, we started using this platform because it allowed us to be able to record video calls or audio calls with multiple subjects where it recorded high fidelity audio in multi-track so that we could edit it really easily. But what they've done in the last year and a half is really incredible. So now they've layered on a whole AI editing side of their business. I'm going to show you some examples of using this with a podcast that we produce in the comedy end of things called Bad Parents. No how-to guide for parenting. This is all the terrible mistakes parents make along the way that are pretty funny. I log into Riverside and I'll upload what is roughly an hour-long episode. What you're going to see is that I have the ability to control everything using AI Edit. Now, I can allow Riverside to edit the full episode, or I can edit myself and use something called Magic Clips, which I'm going to show you, which will take an entire hour-long or more episode, distill it down into 60-second clips or 30-second clips, whatever you tell it to. It analyzes the show. It does sentiment analysis and a variety of different means to deliver you the best clips possible that you can already use for social media. Frames them, whether you've done the podcast for YouTube or not. So when I log onto the platform, I can edit from scratch, like I say, or I can get in, much like you saw James with the transcription tool. I can edit it out if I want to. I can pull certain segments out. When I delete the words, it deletes the audio. It will pull out silence. It will pull out over talking, multiple subjects talking over top of each other. It'll pull out filler words. It's really incredible all the things that I can do with it. It will enhance audio like you heard Adobe Podcast do. If you've got one of your subjects that maybe doesn't have the best mic and you have the other subject who's in the studio, it will balance that out. It will add captions. I can add photos from a variety of libraries, looking up kids. I can add video or photos to the podcast. And then I can use Magic Clips. And Magic Clips, as I said, will distill down whatever you give it into 60-second usable clips so that you can pump them out to social. It's really incredible. When I do it, it will give me 5 examples from the show that I can choose from, and I can make any edits that I want to from there to be able to take these and publish them. So, multi-subject podcast, I'll show you an example of what it produced untouched.
Here are some momisms, and I'm asking Shauna if she's ever used them, okay? If I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. I use it with you guys. Don't put that in your mouth. You don't know where it's been.
No, I'm okay.
The only reason why I would be pro currency, like taking it all online, so my kids will stop putting, I don't know, quarters from garage sales in their mouth.
Good for them. I'm a big proponent of licking things and building up your immune system.
So completely untouched from a 1-hour episode, and it produced me 5 versions of that. If I decided there was a keyword in the show, like wheelbarrow, and I wanted to punch it in and produce clips, it will find anything associated with wheelbarrow and produce my 5 clips based on that. It's a really powerful tool.
What AI can also be used for is to help you in terms of research, to help you in terms of some of the people who you have coming into your radio station. Maybe you've got an interview and you just want to have some first thoughts on what questions to ask this person who is coming in. So let's pretend that I have a radio interview with Donna. Literally all I've said is, Chris, Donna Duncombe from Chorus in Canada, can you give me 5 interesting questions to ask him? I can't think of anything other than he has a very fine beard. That is literally all that I've said. And the AI tool that I used has done a search and has come up with not just, all of the information of Chris's career and all of that information. It's also, of course, come up with something that I was hitherto unaware of, that he is also involved in this.
Love could be 1 mile away when you see her. She'll smile and she'll say, all of this time I've been searching for you.
Ladies. So. And I'm sure it counts for CanCon as well. So it's given me all of these questions, which is really useful. It's told me that some of the stuff that he's worked on has won awards and everything else. So I can at least start with a set of questions that I should probably check before asking him. We'll start with a set of questions there. I've also said, is there anything I shouldn't ask?
Great. There we go.
And it turns out, no, you're all clean. So that's all okay. And I've also said, what question would you ask Chris that he might find amusing? And apparently, Chris, you've been known for your impressive beard and your role as the chief banjo plucker in the Washboard Union. That's very easy for me to say. If your beard could play an instrument, what would it be? And would it join you on stage for a duet?
Riveting question.
That apparently is a humorous twist that he may find entertaining. Anyway, you can use all of these tools for at least saving you a little bit of time in the research of some of your guests.
We have to produce content now from what we do on the air on so many different platforms at the same time. And some of the videos that come out from radio are fantastic, and a lot of them are absolutely terrible. There's a real opportunity for us to think about social video in a different way in terms of creating video that's actually going to react on social platforms because it's engaging. We know you have a millisecond to grab people on TikTok when they're death scrolling. So the ability for you to create the best videos possible can be made possible by platforms like captions.ai. Now, don't let the name fool you. I've taken a clip from Bad Parents, the same podcast you just saw. And what I've done here is I've chosen a template and I've said, translate this entire podcast. Well, what it's going to do is find B-roll, license-free B-roll from a variety of different platforms and pull it into the video. It's going to adjust the format of the video. It's going to allow me to add my own images from a variety of different AI platforms. And it'll put it all together for me. And I can still edit the script and do all the things all the other great platforms do. But I did not touch this video, and I want to show you a sample.
I was lucky enough during our regular show, it's a radio show, and nobody was, I think I was by myself that morning, and I interviewed Zach Hyman. And Zach Hyman at the time was playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs and now plays for the Edmonton Oilers. And I said to him, and he was in promoting a children's book, which is very cool and unique.
Oh, right.
I said, Zach, I looked him dead in the eye and I said, I got 3 kids, play hockey. Cost me a lot of money, tens of thousands of dollars a year. Never mind travel, expenses, time, energy, hotels, restaurants, dicks. I said, I got 3 kids. If not one of them makes it into the NHL, this has been a colossal waste of time and energy. Poor guy thought I was being serious. He looked, and I go, right? Tell me I'm wrong. Your parents must be proud. You made it to the show? If one of my kids doesn't make it to the show, we've wasted time and money. And then I cracked, and then he realized I was joking. But I was only kind of half joking.
So everything that you saw in that video was produced by AI. I hadn't touched it. You could certainly go back and make all the changes you need to, but far more engaging than what we would have sent if it was just 3 people around microphones in a radio studio.
That's super good. And here are some of the tools.
Yeah, and it's not the only one out there. Captions, Opus Clip, Firecut, the list keeps getting longer every day, but there's lots of options out there for you to use.
All right, let's talk translation and voice cloning. Let's leave the ethics aside. I do a daily podcast update called Pod News. It's very good. You can get it in your podcast app. But I have given my voice to one of the tools. Wondercraft is the tool that I use. and occasionally I translate it into other languages just for fun. So let's play a game. What language is this? Shout out if you know.
シンガポール空港からポッドキャストの広告料金が上昇中です。ポッドニューズ、ネットの最新情報によると2020
Anyone? Portuguese? That was Japanese, obviously. But clearly that was my voice. Here's another one.
4600 أصوات من بريسبان. آخر الأخبار من بود نيوز مع ريفرسايد منصة البودكاست والفيديو الخاصة بك.
Anyone? Arabic, correct. Right, third one.
De Asian Podcast Awards worden gelanceerd vanaf de luchthaven van Kuala Lumpur. Het laatste van Podnews, net met Riverside, jouw podcast- en videostudio.
Thank you to Riverside for their support of this, clearly. Anybody? Dutch. Dutch is correct. One last one. This is for the Nordics in the room.
Fler podcastpriser från Oslo i Norge, det senaste från Podnews Net, där Soundstack tjänar mer programmatiska intäkter.
Who said Swedish? Swedish is correct. Swedish is correct. Hurrah! So you can use these sorts of tools if you've got important information that you need to get out to every part of your community. Then actually these sorts of tools might be helpful in that. They might not be, but you can clearly see that that is my voice cloned to speak different languages. Here's another example of what you can do with it. Actually go the other way. I recorded France Inter back on the day after one of the many elections that France has had. But I recorded it and I then said, please could you turn this audio into English so I can actually understand a bit of it.
Nicolas Demorand, good morning.
Good morning, Matilde Munoz. France Inter, Monday, July 8th, the day after, and the special edition of the 7 to 10 show. It is 7 o'clock.
France Inter, hosted by Nicolas Demorand, the 7 to 10 morning show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inter. Hélène Roussel, hello.
Hello.
In the headlines this morning?
Turn around ahead, the United Left. At what cost? A government without a majority.
So that was a French radio show, but translated into English, kept all of the voices in there. Really interesting. And I was thinking, what more could you do with that? Could you actually have a listen to Energy and the news bulletin that was on 8 o'clock on Tuesday? Can I actually understand any of that? So this is what it originally sounded like.
En cours, plus d'une heure sans aucune interruption. Plus de boost, plus de fun.
Énergie.
Le gouvernement Legault qui cède à la pression et donne finalement, Étienne, le feu vert au chantier de l'hôpital Maisonneuve-Rosemont.
La pression était plus ou le moins très très forte. Alors les travaux qui vont commencer dès cette année avec des travaux préparatoires qui comprennent la construction d'un station.
And this is what it sounds like in English.
More than an hour without any interruption.
More boost, more fun, energy. The Legault government is giving into pressure and finally giving the green light to the Maisonneuve-Rosemont Hospital construction project.
So work will begin this year with preparatory work, including the construction of a parking lot. Yes, you heard right. We're starting with the parking lot, and it'll cost $85 million, even though the walls are threatening to collapse. That's why they're being held up with pins, literally and figuratively.
Now, that is a really interesting way of listening to foreign language radio. And I mean, you know, maybe that might allow you as a PD of a large radio group that broadcasts in French as well as English to actually understand a bit more of what your French colleagues are actually working on. You can, of course, use it for advertising as well.
On the advertising side, and I'm just going to click back here for a second, we've all had this happen before where your sales team goes to the production team and said, I've got a brand new client. They've never really spent on radio or podcast before. They don't really get it. We want to show them what it's going to sound like, which can be really labor intensive from the production side. Your sales team can now, when they're doing lead generation, create audio spec ads at the push of a button. So I'm going to repay James' favor here and introduce you to Critters Coffee and Car Wash, which washes your car sort of and gives you a mediocre cup of coffee while you wait.
Oh, great.
All I've done here is entered the fact that James owns this car wash. There are 60 stores in the GTA, its address, what I want it to feel like, and it will produce 3 different versions of a script for me. almost instantly. And from there, I can either edit it or decide that I want to use one of those scripts. I can then move forward and pick the voice that I want to use from hundreds that are available. And this is only one of a lot of platforms that's able to do this. I pick the voice that I want. I've chosen a young, energetic female voice here. I can have a listen to it. I was really happy with the choice. So it will give me the audio immediately of that voice reading the script that I've chosen. And from there, I can choose the music that I want to go with it as well. It'll automatically mix the music in from a variety of genres. All of this is license free. And then I literally just download the clip. And here's what it produced for me on the other end in less than 2 minutes.
Attention, fellow coffee enthusiasts and car lovers. Get ready for the grand opening of Critters Coffee and Car Wash, where your car gets sorta clean and your cup is filled with a delightfully mediocre brew. Join us on May 10th as Australian superstar James Cridland unveils his brand new waterfront coffee and car wash at 25 Dockside Drive. With over 60 stores in the GTA, don't miss the chance to experience the most okay cup and wash in town. You ought to be here.
Even with a terrible slogan like "You ought to be here" on the end of it.
Nice. Gosh, there's a thing. AI can also really help you internally. If you have been given, I don't know, a new HR policy, or you've been given a new expenses policy, and you know that you've kind of got to read that, but you also know that you don't really have the time, and it's written by the HR team, and it's very boring. So what you can do is you can use a tool called Google Notebook LM, and you can upload stuff into Google Notebook LM, maybe your new HR policy, and it will turn that into a podcast for you. So this is a 17-minute long article that I have written all about how podcast stats work. It's a thrill, I'll tell you. And I have uploaded it to Google Notebook LM, and I've said, please could you make a 5-minute podcast that just has the most interesting bits, if you can believe it, from that article. And this is some of what it came up with.
It really highlights why just looking at download numbers alone isn't enough. We got to dig deeper, look at engagement, the real deal.
It's about the quality of those listens,
Oh.
not just racking up a huge number of downloads. Those are just virtual dust bunnies if nobody's actually listening.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so we're looking for quality listens, not just downloads. But where do we even find these all-important stats?
Well, the good news is you're not short on options. The article lays out 3 main sources: your hosting platform, those third-party services, and then, of course, you've got the individual podcast apps themselves.
Sounds like we've got options.
Yeah.
So actually, that if you were to have a listen to that driving home, you can actually have a listen to that and get the most interesting bits out of that particular article. It's a really useful tool. It is free. Please don't stick it on the air, but it's well worth a play with.
I mentioned before the ability to create audio spec ads, but we recognize we're in a multi-platform business, and the ability to create video content for our clients is becoming more important than ever. If audio is time-intensive, video is that much more. The ability now for you to create spec ads, and I'm making sure that we're clear, that's a spec ad. We're not just going to take what it produces and put it out on the air or put it out on social platforms. But you now have the ability to do this very simply. So the platform that I talked about before called Captions actually has an entirely different side of its business now that is producing ads for clients. All you have to do to be able to use it is punch in the URL for the website of the business, and it does pretty much everything else. So when I get on the platform and I punch in my favorite barbecue place in Toronto, which happens to be a place called Cherry Street Barbecue. All I did was punch in the website. I have not touched this. When it opens up, it will give me a script. The details that it's found from the website, I can decide who I want it to target. So food lovers and people who love Toronto, very simple parameters. It'll produce a bunch of different scripts from me, whether it's how do I solve a problem, or something more energetic like a FOMO script, or an attention-grabbing script. It'll let me choose the captions and the personality that I want to use. I chose Alan because he looks like he likes barbecue, and I've asked it to generate an ad. I can also add music in here. I can do a lot of different things. It's going to produce 5 different ads for me to check out. I can add images in here. I can do anything else, but I've just left it untouched at this point, and I've selected the one that I want to use. So in less than 2 minutes, here's the spec ad that it produced for me.
Food lovers, stop scrolling. Cherry Street Barbecue will change your life. Experience Toronto's unique pit-smoked meats, blending Southern traditions with multicultural flavors. From classic barbecue to innovative sides, we're redefining Toronto barbecue. Visit us in the Portlands and taste the difference today.
So really simple to be able to produce an ad that can maybe convince a client to become a customer.
That's very cool, isn't it? That's very cool. Now, one final thing. I know we said no ethics, but just because you can doesn't mean that you should. And I would like to introduce you to Ty. This is a radio presenter on a radio station called CADA, which is on FM in Sydney and on DAB in all capital cities in Australia. And she does a 4-hour show from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. As you can see, it's called Workdays with Ty. At least that's how I think the name might be pronounced. It could be T. She never says it, so I don't really know. But anyway, I will play you a couple of clips of Ty, who has been on the air for the last 6 months. And these are a couple of clips just recorded straight off air. So here comes the first one.
I told lil' bro if it's personal, he better jump out and do it on feed.
Kata's mystery mixtape brought to you by Zeros is worth $2,000. Register to play at kata.com.au and make sure you're listening very carefully to win.
All right, here's the second break.
Playing on Kata in 2 minutes is The Weeknd, and then Lisa teaming up with Ray for Born Again. It's Selena Gomez at Kata.
And here's the third.
After 1 p.m. on Kata, hear the new track from Lizzo as well as Roshi. We're Australia's home of hip-hop and R&B with old school Warren G.
Regulators. We regulate any stealing of his property. We're damn.
Now, she can talk up to the post. She's very good at that. Less good at, riding the faders. I think we can all agree there. They should be using Playout 1, which you should go and have a look at outside. So that, as you've probably already guessed by now, Ty is not a real person. Well, she is a real person. She's in their finance department, or at least she was in their finance department until they announced 2 weeks ago that they are firing all of their finance department and they're all going to be based in Thailand. So she is a real person, but in the finance department, she's not a real person on the air. She allowed her voice to be cloned by ARN, the company that owns CADA, and that is what you're listening to. You're listening to a bloke who types in the things that she might want to end up saying, and she ends up saying all of that information. CADA has never once said that this is an AI voice for 6 months. They've been lying to their audience for 6 months. I think that's a dreadful, dreadful thing. I also think that it sounds pretty bad. And it's a young radio station. You could probably actually take an AI voice and have a little bit of fun with that. And actually say, you know what, this is AI Ty. And, I don't know what's going on with Donald Trump at the moment. Maybe they should turn him off and on again. That's what they do with me. I mean, you could do that kind of stuff and have quite a lot of fun with it. But instead, they've kind of lied to their audience, and they've made, in my humble estimation, a product which isn't very good. Sadly, unfortunately, these are the audience figures that came out last week, and for her shift, and she's number one in her shift. So, but ignoring that bit, I think we just need to be clear, and we need to tell the truth in terms of what we're doing with AI. I think using AI for, a weather forecast is fine, travel probably fine. Using AI for an entire show with an entire personality without being open is probably not so fine. So there's a bit of ethics for you. Shall we finish off?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. One, when James and I started having conversations about what we might include based on what we were both using already, that list was really hard to pin down to 10. There are hundreds of tools out there. If you can think about what you'd like AI to be able to assist you with, there's a tool out there to help you. The stark reality is that we're being asked to do more with less all the time. and a program director's job sure doesn't look like what it used to look like. Nor is any job at a radio station. And now you're producing not just radio content, but you're producing for multiple platforms at the same time. You're running podcasts. If you've been focused on audio podcasts in the past, now you're likely focusing on video as well. So it's tough. Any tool that can allow you to deal with what's really laborious and spend your time being creative, which is why you got into this business, is valuable to use. And so being aware of all those tools that are out there is more important than ever. To James's point, tell the truth. If you're using it for any part of your on-air product, be honest with your audience. We've always had creative ways of bringing things to life. We had creative ways of talking about client campaigns that were boring as mud. We can do it when it comes to stuff like this. Letting AI only take you part of the way is critical. These are tools that allow you to just get some of the rough editing if you're doing content creation done. And then you can allow your creativity to turn it into something you can really own, something that is parallel with the brands that you represent. But that's really important that we not just put it in one end and take what comes out the other. And I think that was the last piece for us. So an endless list of tools. We're happy to share any of those with you as well and keep you updated. You should definitely be reading everything James puts out on a daily basis. It's fantastic. It's my morning read. And there are lots of great tools that we'll be talking more about in the next while.
And you should come and see this man playing live in Australia later on in the year. That will be a lovely thing. I think we've got time for questions.
We do. We have time for questions. And so we've got about 5 or so minutes. Ross is going to help me by running to you. So if you've got a question, put your hand up. Anybody? Oh, okay, perfect. Which app are you using? Oh, far back. There we go.
Always seems to be the back of the room. This was all fascinating, exciting, invigorating. But we all hear stories every day of post-secondary education shutting down radio and broadcasting programs. Is there an opportunity to reach out to these schools, introduce this as part of their curriculum to engage kids going into these schools to not only get involved in AI, but to get involved in radio, since that is the medium we're talking about?
Great question. Sorry, what was your name?
That's Rita Cagini, former
Rita.
CRTC commissioner.
There we go. So I can't see past the stage. Guys, any answers on that one?
I'll say this. So I get to work in sort of the future side of our business a lot. And I will say that most recently I had to hire a video podcast producer who was going to work directly with radio. And that's not the same role we would have hired for before. It was the first of our kind. I had 230 applications. So there is appetite out there for this. I can't speak for the schools. If they're not reinvigorating the radio and broadcast programs to be able to have this stuff involved, they certainly need to. I'll give you an example of the age group that's creating these tools. I interviewed Captions AI, who's in Brooklyn, New York. There are 75 people under the age of 25 in that room, and I swear the lead programmer I spoke to looked like he was in grade 9. It's incredible. So I think maybe the view from our perspective certainly is the group of people that we're hiring now are dramatically different than the group of people we were hiring 5 years ago. We hire influencers to be on the air. We hire people who are savvy with technology to do a myriad of things in the content creation world.
All right, any other questions?
Yep, coming up.
Oh, perfect.
Hi, it's Erin Grevstad from Triton Digital. Dunner, nice to see you. It's been a while. I was curious, some of the tools that you use are probably login based, so maybe you feel safer sharing your ideas with them, especially the ones that are work related. But what are your concerns in general about these tools and sharing your creative ideas that, you know, may belong to the companies that you work for in some capacity?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely be careful what you upload. There are certain tools which are specifically sold on their capabilities of being secure and being, you know, careful about the information that you upload. But anytime, if you're working on a big story for your radio station, anytime that you upload any audio to a third party, then that risks that audio being leaked or risks something happening to that audio in the future. More and more now, we are seeing a lot of in-house tools. So I, for example, produce the transcripts for the show that I do on this laptop. It doesn't touch the internet at all. And similarly, there are other similar tools which will do a lot of what you've seen actually on your own hardware. And maybe that is something that you want to have a think about. Would it get would there be a concern about uploading my car wash and coffee place? Possibly not, but certainly if you're working on big stories, particularly where the sources, you want to keep those sources private, then think twice before you upload it to some random service. Yeah, absolutely. That doesn't go for Triton, which of course is brilliant.
It's 2 thumbs up. Any other questions? Oh, I think I see one at the far back.
Where am I going?
Down this aisle here. Next aisle.
Oh, I got it. Hang on.
Yeah. You're going to get your cardio today.
Got that right.
Get your steps up.
Where are we going? Okay.
Right at the back.
Sorry. Good hustle. Hi. I was just curious, what do we expect the reaction from the audience to be when and if you do use AI? For example, for me, I work in news talk radio, so I would think for weather or traffic. And are there examples of radio stations who have been forthcoming about their use of it? And I don't know, my instinct is it wouldn't be good off the bat, but I don't know if there are examples where people have been forthcoming and a positive reaction.
That's a great question. I don't know that I have a lot of examples for you. What you didn't see today were the tools that are out there that can replace music programming, music scheduling, traffic reports, sports reports, all of those other pieces. That really comes down to a group level at your station ownership of whether you want to engage in that. But the ability to be honest with your audience and say, find a unique marketing ploy like James was suggesting with talking about AI tie. I think the more honest we can be and do that, you're going to be in a much better position. But I would suggest there are not enough examples out there now of people being either overly honest or overly dishonest with it, other than the story that broke in Canada that James had highlighted today.
Yeah, and the other thing that I would say is Milli Vanilli versus Kylie Minogue. Kylie Minogue may be using drum machines, but no one felt the need to write, this track contains drum machines on that CD. Milli Vanilli, though, on the other hand, you may remember it turned out that the two boys were just miming, and the entire band was a total sham, and people felt very badly done by because of that. So I think, again, it's a Milli Vanilli versus Kylie Minogue thing. Why I chose Kylie Minogue, heaven knows. Where I don't think if AI is a tool that is used as part of the final result, then that's probably fine. If the entire final result is AI, then I think that's where you should absolutely be telling your audience. Examples, by the way, a bunch of radio stations in Australia are using AI clone voices for things like travel news. There is also a radio group in the US, and the plan, by the way, for any radio out of the US is to watch what they're doing and do the exact opposite. But what they are doing is they have taken the syndicated breakfast show, cloned her voice for the weather, so that she can do the weather at the top of the hour throughout the day and pre-promote tomorrow's show. And that is, AI, it's probably fine. So there are examples of how that works in real life as well.
James, Chris, thank you so much for taking time today. Unfortunately, we are out of time for Q&A, but we've learned a lot today. So guys, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge today.
Thank you.
And there's coffee outside, thanks to Lean Stream, right outside the door. Thank you, everyone.